is the place for you. No need to complicate it. It's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word itself approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences. Let love heal all that's broken. If you need truth, this is the place for you. No need to complicate it. It's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word itself approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences. Let love heal all that's broken.
And shalom to everyone. So glad to have you all with us. Glad that you're here with us on Clubhouse and the arenas that we do have. We're honored to be with you today as we enter into a time that is to glorify the Father. I do pray and believe that every single solitary human being today is to be in a place preparing for rest, if not already having been rested. We're believing and trusting in Yahweh for that great grace that is of him. So I want to be sure that you know today is the day, for those of you at least that have already started your Sabbath, that Yahweh our Elohim has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Those of you who are ready to enter in, we're looking forward to that space. We're looking forward to that time. We're looking forward to that element. And we're all praying that we come to the knowledge of who and what Yahweh is in our very lives. So listen, let's get started. You can invite somebody in. We want to talk about this today because this is going to be a part about the kingdom. And everybody needs to know about the kingdom more than anything, I think, today than we have been over the years. I keep hearing all these messages on let the church be the church and let this be that and let this stand here and let that stand there. Let's move over here. Let's talk about Elohim's intention and make sure that we meet it with an eye of understanding. All right, I'd like to take opportunity to have a moderator. Please make sure that you help us today. And coming off mic and give us our announcements and allow for us to know what we're doing for these next couple of days on the preceding word. And they can share with you how to like our page and understand what we do here on the proceeding word. Do I have a moderator that would be willing to contend with that charge? Thank you so very much. And the floor belongs to you.
Shalom and welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today on the preceding word. And you are here for part 2. The race is not given to the swift or the strong. We want you to know that we meet every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, you can find us on our Facebook page and YouTube at VWJ Ministries. Tonight, we enter into Sabbath, and so you can join our Sabbath Midrash studies 11 p.m.-ish tonight under our Darash Kingdom Ministries Club. And then join us again on Saturday at 11 a.m.-ish for our continued study in the Torah. Join us on Sunday mornings for our Morrow After Sabbath service, which starts at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also under Darash Kingdom Ministries, you will find us here for our Wednesday night Bible study, which begins on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And don't forget our beloved Bible Book Club that meets every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We want you to know that all of our rooms are recorded live. You can find the replays here. You can also subscribe, like, and comment to any of our broadcasts on our Facebook page and YouTube at VWJ Ministries. Apostle, back to you.
We thank you. We're so grateful for that. Those of you who joined us and come on to the actual Facebook and or also to the YouTube pages, please make it your business to go ahead and hit the heart sign, hit the like sign, and like, subscribe, and as they love to say, share. So I look forward to getting your feedback and your revelations on what has been spoken and what you've received in this day. So if you're on that channel, Facebook, you're on YouTube, please make it your business to hit that for us. It does a great deal. One more thing we want to make sure you catch that we do have coming up the Feast of Yahweh, which are going to be in April the 4th at sundown, April the 5th at sundown, April the 6th at sundown, April the 11th at sundown are all the 4 days of convocation that the season and the feast of Pesach consist of. We want you to make sure you're prepared for them. You should be off on those days. Again, 4-4 at sundown, 4-5 at sundown, 4-6 at sundown. That's 3 days straight. You should be off of work. That's right, in a sabbatical. Then you'll come back at 4-11 at sundown to be off that day as well. So those are the 4 times that Yahweh has placed for us to know, to learn, to understand, and then embrace his times that he says he wants to gather and meet with us. And then 50 days after the 6th of April, you're going to run into May the 25th at sundown. And that'll be the summer and the spring feasts. The summer's feast is called Shavuot. The spring feast is called Pesach. And we hope that you all are prepared, budgeted both in time and finances and in heart and mind to be at these events. We're going to talk about the feast on this coming Sunday in our Morrow After Sabbath service. We can get that prepared as well for a tile. It'll be a great thing to do. We'll be completing all of the feasts, and discussing what they are out of the chapters of Leviticus chapter 23, Numbers, Deuteronomy, and Leviticus. So we want to make sure you're all prepared for that. Let's get ready for our broadcast today, right here on this program. And we want to make sure we revisit everything that we had been doing previously on part 1 of this program. And many people love to talk about it, but then we fail to take the time to really get into it because we don't know really where we want to be when it comes to what it is that we should be discussing when it comes to who Elohim is. And that's right, we're proclaiming Pesach. We need to look forward to doing that. Start doing it right now. So listen to this next piece. We talked about the race is not given to the swift nor to the strong, because his word says so. And you can find that in Ecclesiastes chapter number 9, verse 11. We'll go there very quickly. But I wanted to come back and conclude this part of the teaching because we didn't get a chance to get into that section of it. And I want to make sure that we know why we do it, and why it has to be done, and how you and I got to really start embracing this. So let's open up the word and let's restart, recap, and then come into our conclusion for this particular talk and proceeding word. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yahweh, who is our Elohim. We need to know that the race is not given to the swift or to the strong. Well, what's that mean, Apostle? Well, let's take a look, see. How about we do that? You ready? So the Bible goes on to declare and make this statement very, very clear for us that in this time, it goes on to state, verse number 11, Solomon, wisest man to walk the planet, save for Yeshua HaMashiach himself. Solomon writes these words, and he says very clearly, I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor yet riches go to men of understanding, nor yet favor to men of skill, but time and chance happens to them all. Now, here is where we come into a place that is extremely important. When we realize that the race, as we told you in our recap, is not given to the swift, it's not given to the strong. It's not a race where you are in a state, as Minister Jackie has adopted, and I think that's a beautiful thing. You're not in a state of comparisonitis. And comparisonitis is when you compare your life to another's life, and then or you put yourself in a position where you are competing with another person in this life. You're not to be rivals one the other, and especially within the fellowship of Elohim, we are not to be counting the next man's pockets, counting the next person's pockets, the next woman's pockets, the next person's fame or cred. We're not to be racing. There is not a race against each other. Listen, y'all, this is a race against time. Recapping what we discussed in part one, you are in eternity. Eternity has this bubble in it. I repeat, eternity. You are in eternity. But eternity has this bubble in it called time. So Yahweh pushed you from eternity into time. You're in time to live a predetermined, predestined, preferred life. You're in time to do the will of him that made time. You're in time to do the will of he who created time, its continuum, Earth, the galaxy, and all that therein dwells. And then he will extract you the same way he entered you and imputed you into time. He will extract you from time. But you have a certain time to accomplish the assignment he put on your person, on your soul, and sent you to do the work in his construct of Elohim's eternal existence. So when we talk about eternity, you and I were pushed from the mind of Elohim, put into a time suit, your flesh suit, this pulchritude, this sinew and vascular system and blood and cartilage and marrow and calcium deposits and hair and nail follicles. All that we are is made from dirt that sits in the composite of time. Now, the soul is eternal, but everything in time is literally temporal, because this earth that you're on and you were made from, don't get it twisted, will in fact burn away. It will melt away with a fervent heat. This is a promise of Yahweh, who is our Elohim. And you can read that throughout your Bible. But today we want to talk about this race. The race is not given to whoever thinks they're stronger or quicker than the other person, another person in time. So when we begin to see that when Yahweh made the first human beings, when he made the first human beings, he hewn them from the dirt, the dust. We call it the Adoma. The Adoma sets on the Eretz. The Eretz is that third rock from the sun. And then from that third rock on the sun, there's water, there's dirt, there's a whole bunch of other stuff, but there's that Adoma, that ruddy stuff that you actually have elements growing out of when you, in fact, give a seed to it. The word of Elohim is a seed. Every word you speak is a seed. Moderators, I need to make sure that just about everybody gets a microphone today. So on Clubhouse, we're going to be sending down microphones to you all. And I hope that you all are sharing the room and making comments in the chats. We do want to hear what you have to say this given Friday before we enter into our Sabbath. And those of you who are already in your Shabbat, please, let's talk. This is the time for you to go ahead and get some revelation and understandings in your head and heart while you take this 24 hours of knowing him like you never knew him before. So when you are in the time continuum, which you are right now, you're in the time continuum. You and your body is temporal, your soul is eternal. So there is literally life after death. I am not subscribed, do not subscribe, will not ever subscribe to the fact that you are in earth as a human and then you can come back as a cerasee weed, or you can come back as a parrot, or you can come back as a element of something. We are not that. That's not who we are. It's not what we are. We do not come back as something else. You're going to stay asleep in the dirt, the dust, and that which you have been and that which you are, until Yahweh wakes us up at the trump that shall sound, and the dead who died in righteousness, their bodies, the dirt, the pulchritude that made them, shall rise, and those who are alive at the time of the rapture and in righteousness shall all be caught up together to meet Adonai Mashiach, our Elohim, in the air, and will forever be with him. And then there's a whole new type of life. This world will be, in fact, melted away. It will melt away. A new heaven and a new earth shall exist. So that's a real quick element of eschatology inside of our proceeding word. I didn't mean to really go there, but let's keep it on the tack and task for today. So when you and I were pushed out of eternity, our souls are eternal. We were then pushed into time, but to travel through time, we needed this flesh suit. Can y'all call it a space suit? So y'all astronauts.
Space.
Did y'all get that? It'll click later. So now that you have been in this time continuum, in this space suit, watch this. Even Elohim, when he came to fix the world, he put his son in the same spacesuit to travel in time continuum. And then he took him out of time continuum. See, when you understand that, you realize who Yeshua HaMashiach is. It's pretty impressive. So let me keep going with this, and we can press on to this fact that you're not in a race with your brother or your sister. So when Yahweh pushed the soul of Adam into the earth, he hewn the dirt, formed the body, made the liver, made the spleen, made the kidneys. He made the elbow and the knees. He made the hair follicles and the cartilage, and he made the iris. He made he made everything about the man. He made the lungs. He made the heart. He made the vascular system. He made blood all out of dirt in his hand and water. And then he breathed into that composite, and man became a living soul. So he made the suit, put the soul in the suit, and then had the soul and man, as it were, operate in time. He gave man time. You have a set time to do his will in the earth. Then he took from that same man that he made, and he took the womb of that man. He took the female factor from that man and created another pulchritude from that same pulchritude. Watch this. And created the womb man. Because when he made humanity male and female, created he them. He called their name Adam, singular. But then when he said it was not good for man, human, to be in one pulchritude, it was not good for man to be alone, or better yet, all one. He took the womb of that man and gave it its own pulchritude from the pulchritude of the human he made, and gave that womb, the female factor, her own pulchritude. And now man has a companion. Now let me make this very clear to kill this race issue, this competition issue, this comparison-itis issue. You have to understand that if Yahweh would have made the womb man, the female's body, from another mountainside, not the same pulchritude he made man from, if Yahweh's hand would have gone into another parcel of dirt and created a pulchritude for the womb man and put her in that, then we could say that womb man was designed to compete for the job of tilling the ground that Yahweh gave to the man. But because Yahweh did not take the pulchritude for the female factor from another parcel of dirt, he took it from the dirt he formed and made human. He then, by doing that, made her his companion, made him her companion. They are to be a complement, not a competition to each other. So at this point, from the beginning of human existence, not the beginning of the world, but the beginning of human existence, there was never a competition between humanity. So whether y'all like it or not, Ishai was built better than Adam. That's a bit interesting. So Ishai was built better than the first human. Now, the first human was built bad. That's a serious thing. That masculine entity, that brawn, that power, that speed, all of that. But when Yahweh made the second of the same, he made it better, gave it new bells and whistles. It now had longer hair, bigger mammary glands, a womb that could literally expand and extend and do some things and then snap back. I don't know what I would do. I'm just saying. So at the end of the day, there is no race between the two. They are to, watch this, there is a race for the two. There is a race for humanity. And humanity's race is with time. This is why you don't want to run out of time we have been given to do his will. Now, this is just to keep us in a sense of, practical understanding of spiritual principles that Yahweh needs us to catch. So it's not by might of the human I made. It's not by power of the human I made. It is by my spirit, says Yahweh our Elohim. Do y'all get that? So now when Yahweh our Elohim created humanity, he knew its capabilities, he knew its maximized ability, he knows its limited abilities. He knows he knows man. Yes, Yahweh knows your heart, which is another sad indictment that we like to brag about and lean to and say, well, God knows my heart. He really does. And he told one prophet to tell us what that looked like. And that prophet told us very clearly, man's heart is evil. It is desperately wicked. It wasn't made that way, but the heart functions, the psyche of the soul functions based on what it's fed. So when the first human changed its own diet and fed itself knowledge of good and evil, meaning man was made in all good. Evil existed, but Elohim kept man in a composite, in a boundary of good, in an aura of good. Evil did exist. Good and evil have to exist for there to be balance in the world. Evil and good have to exist for there to be balance in the world. So when Yahweh made humanity, he made humanity to operate in all things good. Just read the chapter 1 of Bereshit. All you're going to see is that day 1 was good. Day 3 was good. Day 4 was good. Day 5 was good. Day 6 was good. Day 6 was good. And then he made man at the end of day 6, and he said it was very good. So man was only designed to operate in all things good. But there was a issue Yahweh wanted to make sure man did not touch until Elohim could teach him. And he told man, of all the trees in the garden, every tree you see, the pear tree, the peach tree, the apple tree, the kumquats, the citrus, the ginger root, the cerasee, the jackfruit, the cantaloupe, watermelon, eggplant, all that you see, cumin, all the herbs you see, you may eat of them, but there is one, and the tree of the tree of life in the middle of the garden, all of them you may eat of, but of the tree of the knowledge of the good I got you in and the evil that contends with it, don't eat of that yet. I don't want you to start breaking that down yet. I'm gonna teach you how that and what that is. So don't eat that tree And I would go to say, and some might say I'm being subjective and eisegetical, I don't think Yahweh put the tree in the garden to tempt man. I do not believe that at all, because Yahweh doesn't tempt us. But there would be an actual time for everything. There would be a time Yahweh would lead humanity to eat that tree. Probably better set to say after he really understood all the good he got going on. So man is born into, rather, pardon me, man, Adam, and Ishai were made free. They were made into all good. And when their completion was that, the good was very good. So when Elohim gave humanity existence, its existence was to operate in an aura. It was to operate in this element of good. Evil does exist, but evil is on the outskirts of man's existence until man, by disobedience, opens the door to the knowledge of this good that I'm in, and this evil I don't yet see, but I know it's here. So what is evil? So the moment that man ate the fruit that is the knowledge of good and evil, man took himself out of the all good that Elohim gave him, and evil then came into the realm of Adam's heart. Now, what is in man's heart? What is in man's psyche? What is in man's soul? The knowledge of good and evil. Thereby, man is now evil. And above all things, he's desperately wicked. Who can know him? Because he's always trying to seek knowledge of things that, one, are too high for him. 3, he has the right now to peruse. Unfortunately, some of that stuff can get you hurt. So Yahweh has to say, I can't protect you unless you come to me, because you took yourself out of the realm I made for you. Somebody say man walked out of good.
Man walked out of good.
Walked out of good.
Man walked out of good.
Man walked out of good and invited evil. So that's how we ended up with the heart being desperately wicked, evil, because it has this knowledge of good and evil. Right now, let's move on. So those two, Ishai and Adam, in that state were never a competition to each other. They were always to be a complement to each other. And as a complement, then a companion. And if a companion, then we work together. We're in this love together. That's what's supposed to happen. That's how it's supposed to be. That's what it looks like. That's what's supposed to be the get down. That's what's supposed to be the happening of this. So now that we understand this, we walk into this other space that seems to really bring us into a different realm. Now that man has this knowledge of good and evil, man does what he thinks he can do by himself because he thinks he can do whatever he wants to do. And that's just not really the case. But man is man now. So man now has made everything about competition. He who has the most, he who gets the most, he who does the most. But Yahweh put, and I love what he did in the book of Genesis, chapter 2. He had Adam state, this is now when the woman was presented in her own pulchritude, taken from his, put into her own pulchritude. He says, this is now bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. For this connection, should man leave his father and mother and cleave. Did y'all notice that? The two must cleave. So that means that they are partners in this. When you cleave, when that man cleaves to that woman, we call it a husband cleaving to a wife, but that man, that masculine man cleaving to that feminine man, they came together. They were of equal existence. They were partnership. Matter of fact, when they were made, they were of equal existence. Each had their own roles. One produced and nurtured life. The other one listened as an antenna to the words of Elohim so that we could all, as a body, walk the way Yahweh intended when he created us. So now the point here is that when Adam said this, man shall cleave to his spouse, and the two shall become one. Now, this does not sound like a competition, does it?
No, it does not.
No, it doesn't.
It's not a competition. It is not a competition. It is a companionship, a partnership, because the race is not between the two humans. The race is between human existence and time in a bubble called time, so that before their time, their air runs out, when they call back into eternity, they will have either pleased or displeased the Creator and did or did not complete the job he sent them into time to accomplish. And therefore, you have those who have worked iniquity, or you have those who have worked his word. So if you did your own thing in time, then you're going to be entering into damnation, where you're going to be weeping and gnashing of teeth. If you've worked in time, his righteousness, then you will enter into my rest. This is what Yahweh says. And when you enter into his rest, now you have a place to rest. Now, rest does not necessarily mean heaven. Rest is an eternal state. It's a place where you no longer have to worry about creating, though you still are obedient to the Creator. So the point I wanted to really extract and lift up out of all the text I gave you is the context that this life is not about competing with the human next to you. Never had been, never was. The first human was literally a unit. Then he took the two from the same, extended the human, and gave them both the same existence in the earth. He tightened up and put some new bells and whistles on the second human called Ishai that he'd made, and then told them both to operate as if they were when he first made them as one. Operate, though two separate entities, as if you were still one. No competition. Can y'all say no competition?
No competition.
No competition.
So now we have this thing where we've sort of kind of put ourselves in this area. Okay, well, fine. I'm not competing against the woman, which we need to handle that. Wives and husbands, we would have less issues if he didn't think he was everything and she didn't think she was everything. And you bow down to me and I bow down to you and you do what I say. That ain't what that's about. So the race is not given to the swift nor to the strong. So it didn't matter which one was stronger. It didn't matter which one was faster. They both had a job to do, because your strength could help me with my speed and my speed could help your strength. But we get to a place we're supposed to be on time, in order. And we both receive the prize. So when we in humanity, because of our knowledge of good and evil and our own proclivities, we now have made these competitions, we've made these races, we made these issues of, I'm going to build my empire, I'm going to live for my four and no more. And anybody who comes against my four, we will annihilate, we will beat down, we will bruise, we will kill, we will plunder, we will take over, we will colonize you, we will make you subjective to us. He who has the most tools makes the rules. He who holds the gold makes the rules. He who has the most power is to be in charge. And all of these narratives we've developed over time because of our knowledge of good and evil. Now we participate in both good and evil rather than in the good Yahweh made us to. And that's how we became competitive. That's how we became laden with the disease of comparisonitis. Now, Yahweh wanted us to be very aware that, and I really do. I love the person who wrote the song. I love the person who sang the song, and they sang for gospel's sake and they sang for the kingdom. They made a song that we could all sing and rock to. It was really, 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 really cool. But there's a stanza inside the song. And there's another stanza inside another hymn that we would sing in devotions within Christendom, the church. And the song says, long as I got King Jesus, long as I got King Jesus, long, long, long as I got him, I don't need nobody else. And that's just not true.
Whoa!
It's just not true. Because Yeshua was a human. Inside of him, like us, is a soul. But Yeshua came to show us how to live the word and how to have a common wealth where all in our community work together. And that's what makes us a holy nation, a peculiar people, and a royal priesthood. So I need you. And I dared do Barney, but I got to. Y'all know it came up out my soul. It came right up. I need you. You need me. We're a happy family with a great big hug and y'all know the song. All right. So at the end of the day, I need you. We need each other. And watch this. We are fellows in a ship. Listen, your churches have been saying it all this year. Come on, be part of our membership. Yahweh's not interested in membership. He is interested in fellows in a ship to get the boat, the vessel, the vehicle we're in, working together to the other side. Now, if we just use metaphorically the idea of a wooden boat or a vessel on the water, and the vessel on the water, let's just say, does not yet have a motor due to technology, but we go back to the old days when the boat was first made. They pitched it, and then they would get these pieces of branches and wood, and they would make this fat paddle, and then they would have this long stick attached, and you'd row. Whether you rode secularly or whether you rode with just a strength of lateral movement, right? So when you rode, if I'm rowing and you're rowing together, we're going forward together. The moment I start rowing faster and you're still at your pace and I'm competing with you because I think this is a race, the boat is going to go wayward because the side that's got the most traction is getting the most pull on the water. And now you make this person say, hey, I don't know why you're doing that, but you're messing up our efforts at getting straight ahead. So they start rowing faster and they may be stronger. And if they're stronger, though you're fast and swift, their strength will outweigh your swiftness. And then their strength makes the pull stronger here. And now we're wiggling back and forth as a vessel and we should be going straight. But when we work together, we become companion together. All right, we're going to go and breathe. 1 second breath, and then we go. 1, 2, stroke. 1, 2, stroke. Let's get a cadence together so we can stay together. And see, that's what the word does for you and I in Sabbath. That's what the fellowship, that's what the assembling ourselves together as some is about. Coming in and getting the cadence of heaven so we can be 1, 2, stroke. 1, 2, stroke. 1, 2, stroke. Whether we want to be high, we want to be behind the beat, we want to stay in the pocket, we want to go ahead of the beat. We're always getting that cadence. Somebody shout, we got to have a cadence. Somebody make it clear. Say, Sabbath gives me cadence. The word gives me cadence. And so as we have cadence and we're working together, we're all stroking together and we're going to get to the other side. Watch this, sweatlessly. But if I'm in this vessel doing what I gave you as an analogy prior, I'm stroking very hard. I'm paddling very hard, and I'm going, and I'm thinking that me doing that's going to get us there quicker. It doesn't. We all get there at the same time. We're all going to get to the finish line, and we're all going to get a reward. There is not a competition for who gets there first. There is no bigger throne. There is no bigger suite. There is no bigger trophy. There is no bigger medal for who gets to the end of time first. Because if that was the case, y'all do know, then if the matter of racing in humanity and in time is that, the first human to get to the finish line wins the race, then we lost a long time ago because Adam already dead. So was Ishai. So was Abraham and Yitzhak and Jacob. So the race is over. What are we racing for? Because it's not a race against each other. It's not a race against humanity. Well, that's not a good analogy, Apostle. We could use a track analogy where they pass the baton off. You pass off the scepter, you pass off the baton, and then the next group comes, the next heat goes. All right. But we're still not fighting against a competitor. Everybody in the earth is to be a companion of one goal, and that is the pleasing of the Father and accomplishing the tilling. We had one job. Humanity had one job, and that was to till the ground. Oh, how good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. For in unity, not division, not competition, in unity, not sectism, SECT, not elitism, not a perch of entitlement, not the Silver Spoon Club, not the Mile High Club, but in unity, Elohim commands the blessings, the empowerments to do the job we've been given, even life eternal. So it's not a competition to see who can in the church who can answer the pastor's questions first, who can quote the most scriptures, who can give the most money, who can tithe the best, who can dress the best, who can sing the best. It's not a competition to see who's going to be the lead alto, who's going to be the lead soprano, who's going to be the lead drummer, who's going to be the lead organist, who's going to be the lead bass player, who's going to be the lead usher, who's going to be the lead deacon. Who's going to be the senior pastor? Yahweh puts up and Yahweh sets down. So Zion, I want us to understand this as we press on to this next piece of the writ. It's a very important thing to realize, and I'm going to make sure we get it clearly, is this, that the race is not given to the swift nor to the strong. Verse 11. Nor is the battle given to the strong. The race is not given to who's fast. The battle is not given to who is strong. Why do we know the battle is not given to who's strong? Because the battle ain't yours. So why are you battling and fighting with issues? That's not your job to fight a battle. Your job is to work the works of him that made you. Not fight ghosts, demons, and spirits. The battle ain't yours. It's Yahweh's. That's why if you pay attention to what Paul wrote in Ephesians, it's really deep if we stop to think about it. Our job is to dress up in the uniform Yahweh gave us and look good and stand up straight. Keep your head held high. Have your helmet of salvation on. Have on your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Have your loincloth on of truth. Have on your breastplate of righteousness. Have the shield of faith and also the sword of the Spirit, which is, as all other items are, the word of Elohim. And all you do is stand. You don't fight. You just look like Elohim is able. You dress in what he tells you to dress in. That is the battle. You and I wearing his word. That battle is with us. It's within us. We don't fight evil. He does. How are you going to fight an enemy you can't even see? That's a lost case to me. So when you stand, he knows where the enemy is. You stand, do the job he gave you, till the ground, stand there in the ground, having done all, stand. If we could just learn that as people, just stand. You woke up this morning and calamity struck. You woke up this morning and an issue will develop. You woke up this morning, you stand in him. He's all your righteousness. You stand in him. That's where you stand. He is your strong tower. Those who do right have the right to run into him and be saved from whatever storm, whatever chaos, whatever drama evil can concoct against Elohim's favorite creation, humanity. You are safe when you honor and dress in his word. The battle is not yours. When the enemy comes at you one way and you are in his word, Yahweh will cause your enemy to be smitten in front of your eyes. You didn't do it. You're looking at it. So who's smiting the enemy? It ain't you. So why you think you're supposed to be chasing demons and ghosts and goblins and witches and warlocks? That ain't your job. Get dressed. I need about 18 of y'all just say to get dressed, get dressed, get dressed. Your job is to get dressed.
Get dressed.
Get dressed.
That's all you do is get dressed. The battle's Yahweh. Your enemy shall come at you one way, and Yahweh shall drive them away from you 7 different ways. Who did that, you or Yahweh? It's not by might of man. It's not by power of man. Your might and your power is to till the ground. Yahweh takes care of the security detail. Yahweh takes care of the kingdom's prominence and protection. He has angels assigned for that. That's why Yeshua, when he was in the garden, told Kepha, when he cut off the man's ear, he cut off the high priest's servant's ear. That was an indictment in itself. We might talk about that during Shabbat. And those of you who are already in Shabbat, the fact that he cut off the high priest, not the chief priest, the high priest, that's the one above the chief priest. He cut off the high priest's ear. The indictment that they will no longer be hearing from Elohim. Truth be told, after that, Levi, all of Levi, got fired as the ear and the antenna for Yahweh in the earth. We have now a new high priest, one Yeshua HaMashiach, who has not been touched by the feeling of our infirmities, but who has been in all points tempted just as we are. That's something to think about. Sabbath is a good time to talk about it. We might journey into that during Shabbat. But I want to make sure that you understand that this is not a race. You don't have to fight. The battle is not yours. It's not about you being strong. It's about you being strong in his word. It's about you having on his garments that he has given unto you. Does that help anybody? Are we seeing things through a different lens? The battle is not yours, not one of them. If you're dressed in him and you seek to do righteousness, even if you failed and you faltered and you made mistakes, you brought shame to your family. God knows, I know what that feels like. You brought shame to yourself. Yahweh will give you beauty for those ashes. If you're dressed in him, if you're dressed in his word, if you acknowledge him in all your way, he will direct your path. This is not the great cannonball run. This is not this great race around the world. Who's going to get around the world first? It's not. Your job is, while you're in the world, to do his will. That's the only thing you compete with. And that's you competing with your own self. to either do the will of the Father or to take the knowledge of good and evil. The battle is literally in your mind. And that battle is you deciding to do his will or not do his will. He didn't tell you to punch no demon in the face. He didn't tell you to rip out no trachea of any sorcerer. He didn't tell you to cut off the wings of Cupid. He didn't tell you to defrag Santa. He just told you to dress in his word, dress in his way, dress in his will, be obedient and compliant to his purpose, and keep your head down and M-I-N-E, mind your own business. That's why you're quick. That's why you're strong. And that is to do the will of him that sent you. You know, we talk about it like we get it. A charge to keep I have, and a God to glorify. Well, nowhere did Yahweh ask you to spiritually fight. Yes, he did. He said, contend for the faith that was once delivered to the saints. Contend for the faith that was once delivered. Faith is his word. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's all the word. Contend for the word. Don't let the world convince you that doing the word of Elohim is less than what the world is offering. Contend for the faith. When the enemy brings a temptation to you, contend for the faith. That's a battle in your mind, not a battle with the enemy. The enemy can only drop it at your doorstep, make it smell good, make it look good, make it taste good, make you have understandings and have it advertised to you that this could work, this would rock, this is it, this is what everybody's doing. You do it. No, contend for faith. Somebody say, I got to contend for his faith, for the just shall live by faith and not by sight. The just shall live by his faith and not by sight. The battle ain't yours. Come on, make that profession. Say, I'm going to live by his faith. I contend for his faith.
I'm going to live by faith. I contend for his faith.
That's the kingdom. That's the kingdom. So if we're all in this together, we're in this love together. If we're all in this together, I think we're supposed to help one another. Would that be why he said, beloved, let us love one another? For love is of Elohim, and everyone that loves is born of Elohim and knows Elohim. So if I love you, then I'm going to help you be where I'm at. I'm going to help you without charging you usury to be where I'm at. If I get too far ahead of you and I realize you're struggling, I'm going to come back with what energy I do have and love you along until you can restore what has you deficit, and then not make strings attached to it. I'm going to, whatever I know, share with you, because ultimately we all got to get to the end of our timeline, and we need to do that by faith. So my job is, if you're without water, to share my canteen with you. My job is, if you are without protein, I'm going to sow seed of protein into you. I have some left over to give. I'm blessed to be a blessing. I'm not blessed to hoard it into a place where moth and dust can corrupt it and I look like I got everything and I'm going to sell it off to y'all. That's the way of the world. At the end of the day, this race of life is not given to whoever is strong and swift, because you can be as strong as an ox and fast as a cheetah. But if you ain't got protein or water, and you ain't got his word, it avails you nothing. Fast can't feed you. Strong can make you break through some stuff and rob and get a B&E charge. But if you get arrested at the end of the day, at the point of this whole thing is that the race isn't given to that power, that speed. It's given It's given to those who will endure the instructions, follow Elohim's plan, and walk through doing your job, minding your business. And when you see your brother or your sister lacking in their business, and then they ask you for help, you lend a helping hand. Beloved, let us love one another. For love is of Elohim, and everyone that loves is born of him and loves him. But he that loves not knows not Elohim, because Elohim literally is love. How can you say you love me, Elohim says, and you hate your brother? You're trying to get to me by stepping on your brother's head. You're trying to get to me by stepping on your sister's neck. You're trying to get to me by exposing your brother, your sister. You're trying to get to me by murdering them, as if they get murdered, then there'll be more for you at the top. It's not a race between humans. It's not a competition. We need to help our brother get to the finish line. Messiah said, okay, guys, I'm going to leave. I got to get out of here. But greater works than the ones you've seen me do shall you do. Messiah didn't chalk up all these miracles to say, I got the most miracles. No, the disciples did more miracles than he did. Elijah did 16 miracles in his life in the Old Testament. His protege, Elisha, asked for double. And if he stayed around long enough to watch Elisha be translated, then the mantle would fall to Elisha and Elisha would do double. Elisha died doing 31 miracles. But because Yahweh's word is truth, it never changes. Elisha's 32nd miracle was done while he lay as a body dead in a grave, his own sepulcher. And a war took place in a land after his death, long after his death. And a body of one of the Allied troops, while they were throwing dead bodies off the terrain. Y'all do know that that was war. It wasn't as nice and neat as y'all see it today, but you have to dispose of the bodies, and it was pretty funky. So they were throwing bodies anywhere they could get bodies into a grave, and they threw a body into Elisha's grave. When the man that was dead fell upon Elisha's bones, he came back to life.
Wow.
32nd miracle. Yahweh's word don't change. So if you understand this, this is not about who can get the most and keep it and covet and hold it. It's about what you can give out, because Yahweh gives bread to the sower. He gives bread to the eater. He gives seed to the sower. So as we sow into our brother who may have a need, we really see that as Yahweh seeing us as faithful. My job is to make you 3 times greater than I am. If you pay attention to the way we really do church today, the leaders are trying to keep what they know secret behind a veil that Messiah already ripped up and tore apart, and make you come in. And if you want what's behind this veil, you got to break them off for it. They got to put it in a book. You got to buy the book. They got to put it in a CD. You got to buy the CD. You got to put it in a message. Dear heart, listen. Look to help your brother along, and do not make strings and attach strings to it. Now, you know when somebody's gaming and trying to be, because you can tell when somebody's on that that criminal mindset of trying to get close to you so they can get from you what they can use, and then outside of you go and try to look deep somewhere else. Be careful of them. That right there is you casting your pearls before swine. And then I promise you, they're going to come back and rend you with it. So know them that dwell among you. If you pay attention to what took place in the book of Acts, it was very clear. In Acts chapters 3-5, the Bible says that while they had the commonwealth all dressed in the word, they had great grace given unto them because they adhered to the apostles' doctrine. Somebody say the word of Elohim. Come on, say it. The word of Elohim.
The word of Elohim.
I'm going to need some more people because I can't go forward until all of y'all realize that the apostles' doctrine was the word of Elohim. Can y'all help me with that? Come off mute and say the word of Elohim.
The word of Elohim.
See, sometimes you got to make that proclaim because the enemy think y'all don't know what y'all talking about. Ishai. Be concise about what Yahweh has said. You can fail and falter and mess up all you want to. Just know where to go back and get right. Make that a quote. So what he does is he gives us his word. We have to realize that Messiah came to show us how to live. He wasn't competing against us. He was complimenting us. Here's how you get to the finish line, guys. Everybody wins when you get to the finish line. Everybody gets to come through the finish line. The race is not given to the swift nor to the strong. Everybody wins, and everybody has to get to the finish line. Help your brother get to the finish line. What do? Watch this. This is deep. Did y'all know that keeping Sabbath and keeping the Moedim is something that Yahweh earnestly asks us to do? And then he tells us to proclaim it one to the other. That's how you help your brother. I'm going to talk about the people in Acts in a second, but that's how you help your brother. You proclaim it to your brother. Hey, Shabbat's coming up. Hey, the Moedim is coming up. You ready? You prepared? Because we got to be in commonwealth. You know what I mean? I'll help you, but I'm not, like Yahweh, I can't strive with you all way. If you're going to keep wasting what Yahweh's doing with us, for us, and we keep doing everything else other than what he said, then we are considered squandering what he's given us. So are you prepared? Huh? You want to go in this next 12 months with the victory and the power and the provisions of Elohim for both finance, relationship, sustainability, all the wonderful, and health for your life and your family. Are you ready for Shabbat? Are you ready for Pesach? Are you ready for Shavuot? Are you ready for Sukkah? Are you ready for Yom Kippur? Are you ready for Pesach? Are you ready for Hakat Matzah? Are you prepared for Hag Bikurim? Are you ready for Shavuot? Are you? I proclaim it. It's coming. It's coming. Oh, when it comes, you will proclaim it as you see the day approaching. The more I tell you about it, I'm helping you to get to the finish line. Because Elohim knows his plans concerning us, plans of good, not of evil, plans to give you an expected end. The end does mean finish, right? So it's implied that there is a finish in the word end that he expects us to get to. So we all must come to the end place, which is the finished place. And not this preconceived idea we had of getting to the finish line and going through the finish line and being called the victor. We all are in the victor when we end up where he did. Obedient through time to the word. So if you look at what the first church in the book of Acts, the first church of Yeshua HaMashiach in the book of Acts, when people began to have great grace because of the doctrine of the apostles, which was the word of Elohim, I had y'all say that the word of Elohim is the doctrine of the apostles because they only spoke what Messiah spoke. Messiah only spoke the words of Elohim, which were the Torah. One greater than Moshe is here. Now, when the church of the book of Acts, chapters 3-5, they began to really see their communities change. The government was for them and with them, liked how they operated because they dealt earnestly, honestly with all men. They kept things right, fair. They didn't try to, do a whole bunch of trickery and foolishness. And the people in the community that they came and they set up encampments and settlements with, the people that were there, they were like, hey, you guys are okay. Yeah, I'll do business with you. I'll barter with you. Hey, we'll exchange this and we'll work this. And they do this. And the governor was cool and the procurators were cool. And everybody, they found great grace with both men and Elohim because they adhered to the doctrine of the apostles, which was the word of Elohim. Watch. They had what's known as a commonwealth, so much so that when anybody came into this area that they are now finding this grace in, and they became compliant to the doctrine of the apostles, the people who already have been compliant and have built up a decent amount of wealth and have all their means and needs and generational wealth in place, they would see the new people coming into the faith and watch them. Somebody say, know them that dwell among you. Say it, say, know them that dwell among you.
Know them that dwell among you.
They would watch the new people coming in, not trying to be nosy, not being all in their body, busybody. And, you know, if they got to say, why they wearing that dress? Look at them in them heels. Look at them over there with all that makeup on. Look at him over there with his clothes all messed up. Look at him with his brother. No, they do that. They were watching because they were like, the people were being edified. And they're like, okay, they're working every day. Moderators, help me. They're working every day. And they're doing this, they're doing that, they're doing the other. They're making it that they want to see righteousness. They want to see they see the righteousness in the person's life. They see the commitment, they see the consistency, not religiosity, but they see them really living the words that the apostles are speaking, but they're beneath the bar, they're beneath the income medium. So the people who have been doing it for a minute, they said to themselves, as a group gathered under the apostles' doctrines, hey guys, let us external from the church, yet based on the church being the gathering, the fellowship, based on the fellowship's doctrine, let's set up a sidka. Let's set up a charity so that when people come in who were living beneath, but now are being lifted up by the word in their heart and soul and mind, they're doing everything right. Let's put together a cumulative amount so that when we see these new families struggling and yet living the faith earnestly for a year or so, we can extend to them charity. We can sow into them so that they can have the common wealth of our community. Everybody in our community that's earnest, consistent, and being sincere about this word, we'll tell it. You know, your fruit will bear forth. Your fruit will show. If you lying, tricking, scheming, it'll show. We're not blessing that. We ain't gonna bless no mess. We're not gonna. Y'all say, I'm not gonna bless no mess. I'm saying I'm not gonna bless no mess.
I'm not gonna bless no mess. I'm not going to bless no mess.
But where I see good fruit coming forth from a new plant, I'm going to fertilize it. I'm going to sow around it. I'm going to water it in. I'm going to get it more fertilizer because I know it's doing its very best. And see, that's what they did. So when they went and sold their excess, they didn't bring it and put it at the apostles' feet so the apostles can run all over it and step all over it on it and stuff. Yeah. They didn't, it wasn't for the apostles. But the doctrine of the apostles, for the nonprofit organization that these people were establishing for charity, they said, apostles, help us, direct us in how to use this per sidka and the doctrine of sidka amongst us. We got the Hebrew, we got the widows and we got the orphans fund. Help us to help those who have come in and are now really making a change. How do we get them to the common wealth status of our community? And so the apostles said, appoint to you a certain amount of men to oversee this. We'll stay in their ear about what rightness looks like. They'll make the decisions business-wise as to who gets what and how we bring them up. Because you may have a family who is in the region, seeing how we move, start hanging out with us for a year, but because they were here before we got here and their family may have had their house run down, maybe they do have a house, but they don't have 2 cars for the wife and the spouse to get there. I'm just speaking, guys, in an analogy. And so since everybody in Commonwealth has a 5-bedroom, 2-car garage with 2 cars in it, maybe they got a 5-bedroom house, but it's run down, it's dilapidated. But they've been faithful about this word, and they've been blessing, and they've been out in the streets helping people. You can see the fruit of their labors. You know what? Hey guys, won't we go and fix up the shutters and paint their house and fix the garage door? Yeah, let's get them up to par. We got some great mechanics and stuff, people. Let's go over there and be a blessing to them. Let's do a barn raising. Let's go over there so we can all have the same things common. And I realized they got a car that their granddad left them, but it's not really running. Anybody got an idea? Can we fix it? I mean, really fix it, like new. Okay, cool. Or you say scrap it. Or you have something you can upgrade them with. Okay, cool. So you'll take that one and give them. Let's go do it. So now they got a 5-bedroom house, dilapidated, 2-car garage, but it's just messed up. The door won't come up, and they got a car in one of them that's not working, and the car they have, well, it's doable. They don't need to fix the one they got. We ain't gonna fix what's doable, but what's broken, we gonna fix as a community. Now we all have everything the same. We all got a 5-bedroom spot. We all got 2-car garages that work. We all our homes look good. Their paint is on them. There's no leaks in the roof. There's no windows that are having air creep through. So we've made somebody shout, Commonwealth is the kingdom.
Commonwealth is the kingdom. Commonwealth is the kingdom.
That's what happened in the book of Acts. This whole thing about putting money at the apostles' feet and the apostles going off, that wasn't what that was about. That money was used to bring up the people who were coming in, new converts, faithful converts. They watched them, knew them that dwelt among them. And that was what that was about when they went and sold. And the problem with the girls and the boy, Ananias and Sapphira, was the fact that they was like, well, I mean, I'll give them a little bit. I'll give them a little bit, but I'm not. Now that I got this money in my hand, I didn't think I could get this much for it. So, all right, baby, come here, honey. Sapphira, come here. All right, look, I found that I can get this much for this, and I can get this much for that. Here's what we're gonna do. So we participate still. Listen, y'all, it's not that they didn't participate. They just did not keep what was agreed to, that whatever you sold in excess gave that whole amount to the thing. So before you went and exchanged what you had, it was your excess. You already earmarked that as excess, not necessary. We good. My wealth, my generational wealth is set. These are excess sitting in my garage. Don't now go into what you have said we're going to give to charity, exchange it for money, and then extract from the charity, because now you're robbing God. That's what they did. So when they appeared before Peter, Kepha, everybody else's spirit was so in tune with the assignment. They knew the assignment. Everybody else's spirit was immaculate. They all came. If they took this artwork, they took this car, they took this boat, they traded it in, they got this amount of money. Everybody's spirit was the exact amount they got. It was like they gave the car, the deed, they gave the keys, they gave the boat, they gave the painting, they got the money, took the money in the same hand and walked it down and put it down and said, okay, how do we start the Sitka fund? They didn't put money in their pocket. They didn't keep $10 back. They didn't keep $5 back. They brought the exact amount that they exchanged it for, and they put it there for the benefit of new and upcoming believers who were consistent. But Sapphira and Ananias, greedy for filthy lucre, got twisted in the process. And when they exchanged it, it's like, whoa, we got all this for that? I'm going to keep back a couple hundred here. And when they stood before Peter, because everybody else's spirit was so sweet, listen, when you're in a place where everybody's spirit is the word of Elohim, when somebody who comes in with a form of godliness but deny the power thereof, you can smell it, you can see it. That's why Kiefer looked at him and says, Ruach said you didn't do what was agreed to. Did you steal from him? How much did you make that for? Oh, it was this much. It wasn't that he was trying to be nosy. It was that he needed to annihilate that particular spirit from amongst this commonwealth, because we don't need that spirit infiltrating everybody else. And if we leave it unchecked, it will. Somebody come off and say hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And Ruach was like, that spirit right there, get rid of that. You can smell it. You can see it. Keith was like, Ananias, how much did you sell that for? It wasn't like he tracked him or trolled him and followed him and all that. He didn't do that to any of the people. He said, something wrong here. How much you sell that for? Oh, okay. Cool. Well, since you just lied to Ruach HaKodesh, there's about 6 guys over here that are going to carry you to the grave. It was fun meeting you. Sorry, this had to happen that way. This is too serious. Do y'all realize how serious that moment was to create commonwealth? And you are going to compromise that? Yahweh couldn't have it. That's deep.
Yes, yes, sir.
That's how Yahweh annihilated the spirit that was trying to produce and do that. So now here's the last piece. We're going to let y'all go. And you know his wife is with him. They already talked about it before they left the house. She went to trade in what she traded in, and she came back and she says, hey, she comes back, hey, where's my husband? Sapphira. Ananias was your husband? Yeah, that's my husband. Where's he at? He said, how much did you sell that for? Didn't you gave that for? Okay. All right, well, since you remain in solidarity with your husband, the same feet that carried your husband to the grave are going to escort you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. She dropped dead. The other feet that carried her husband's body to the grave then carried hers. Now that's one of the weirdest stories in the Bible, but you need to understand what happened. Yahweh wasn't into just killing. He was into annihilating a spirit that could saturate their commonwealth and bring it into a state that is not the righteousness of Elohim. Another Sabbath study, worthy of inquiry.
Yes, amen.
All right, y'all. It's been a joy and a pleasure. So we're supposed to help each other. What did they do? What was the moral of that story before we got sidetracked with the death and how Ananias and Sapphira died? The purpose was everybody who was adhering to the apostles' doctrine was trying to help anybody newly coming into the apostles' doctrine and proving that their fruits were worthy of proper fertilization and watering. And they helped their new brothers as well as their old brothers get to the finish line of righteousness. The race is not given to how fast you can go, how much money you got, how much power you got. It's not by might. It's not by power. It's by Elohim's spirit, the spirit of his word. We're all going to cross the finish line the moment we leave time. The question is, will we have been found as workers of iniquity at the time of our death? Or will we be in a state that we have literally blood washed, cleansed hearts, washed by his word, full of his faith? It's not a competition. We're supposed to be a complement to each other. And you'll know a slickster. Y'all supposed to be a Christian. You're supposed to help me. That's a spirit you don't help. You probably help them by leaving them to themselves until they come to themselves. That's not how you approach. You're supposed to be a Christian. Why you ain't helping me? You say you supposed to be, the church is supposed to do this, and the church is you supposed to be a Christian. No, I'm not a Christian. I believe in the kingdom of Elohim, but we're associated with that. But it's not about me being a Christian. This is about me being a believer in his word. And his word says we do certain things a certain way, and what you are saying should be done the way you are wanting it to done. Well, that's Christian. That ain't kingdom. Man don't work, he don't eat. Now you're going to sit over there with no reason you can't work, no reason you can't take a job. Whatever the job is, you can still supply and provide for yourself. We're going to be here. We're not going to let you or your children go without. Don't misunderstand me. If you're a widow, if you have been divorced, if you have been whatever, we're going to help the best way we can, but don't get it twisted. There's still a commandment, man should work 6 days. There is still a commandment that on the 7th day, man should rest. In this commonwealth, we keep the commandments. We love our brother. We don't gossip on our brother. We don't murder our brother, our sister. We don't do all those things. We help where help can be done. I saw 2 weeks ago, someone asked you just to help them take their groceries to the front door. And you was like, what? Do I look like I'm your slave? Oh, that's what you thought they were trying to take advantage of you. They were just they just needed some help. But now you want to come at the church as if you're supposed to do this and you ain't did it yourself. You've been sowing that same seed, So that's the thing. Make sure people got kingdom-minded commonwealth is about honoring his writ, honoring his word. And the Bible is found in our churches. And yet we all can fall short. God knows it. I know it. Paul knew it. I still can't get a Paul statement. I'm still, sir. Y'all know as much as I teach it, and much as I can preach, I can break it down. I can prove it 18 ways over. I still am unpacking Paul's cry. Oh, wretched man that I am. Knowing the answer. Who shall deliver me from the body of this death? That knowledge of good and evil, that infusion of knowledge of good and evil did the human body a whole lot of damage. So everything about this race is about companions. It's about compadres. It's about Confederates. It's about commonwealth. Let's be in a race to make sure everybody has all things common. And that based on the grit of the writ. And great grace was upon them all, because they adhered to the apostles' doctrine. But for and by Elohim's grace, I am what I am, and there go I. Well, thank you for tuning in to the Proceeding Word. My name is Apostle V.W. Jones. I've got just a few seconds for you guys. We got about 7 minutes. If anybody wants to make a comment, is part 2 been as helpful to you that we are in a race, but we are to help each other? Not be used, there is a difference, by each other, but to earnestly help each other and not be, well, you're supposed to know them, so I'm watching them, I'm looking at them, I'm in their windows when they cooking, I'm all outside their house. Yes, I promise you, look at them. Ooh, they got a dirty kitchen. Ooh, they got a dirty front room. Ooh, they got a dirty office. Look at their car. What they doing? Why they walk like that? Who they talking to? What? No, not be the nosy person you see within Christendom. You know them by the fruit they bear. People's cultures help them, cause them, formulate them to be a certain way. They do certain things. They speak certain ways. They may be Ebonic, but that doesn't mean their heart is ghetto. Doesn't mean their heart is Ebonic. I've met people who have been just as uneducated as they could be for reasons that are for a myriad of reasons. But their heart is kingdom. Everything they do towards the next human being is kingdom. It's about helping each other. Not being in everybody's business. Just when you encounter them, you'll know their spirit. It's pure. They may have been the most foul person coming up. They could have been like Paul, murdering of our faith, murdering of who we are. And now you're going to come back and say you want to be a part of us. Once they sat with him and saw Paul's heart and spirit, they were like, yo, you changed. Come on in, right hand of fellowship. So it doesn't matter what the person's done, where they've been, the mistakes they've made, because we've all made them. We've all done them. It's about loving your brother. It's about helping us all to come into unity. For there, in that state of unity, Yahweh commands blessing, even life evermore. Anybody want to share? You want to come off mic, just say your name. You want to share in the comments on Facebook, YouTube, you can do that. You come off mic, just say your name, and we'll give you space to chat. Anybody have a question or a thought? Just come off mic, say your name, or type it into the chat on Facebook or YouTube. All right. Well,
Rogers.
It was all right, Elder Rogers. Shabbat, shalom aleichem to you.
Shalom, aleichem shalom.
Mm-hmm.
What was between my paperwork and listening in? Something really caught my attention, and it was about the miracles. Granted, I never read it. All of to note, I probably have, but I did not list them to number them. But by hearing you talk about the number of miracles, that was really amazing. And
you mean Elijah and Elisha? Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought it was lesser than that, but it was double portion.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that got my mind to thinking was, this man was actually dead, or was he, in some kind of comatose state that he? Even if he's not dead, because I know you're going to be trying to justify and do the apologetics for the purpose of Messiah being the first resurrected. It was a war. When you are looking as if you're dead, you don't have time to wait to see if many people that was on those war fields ended up. They may have had when it's your time to go, it's your time to go. So there's a conflict there. So before we get into that, let me be very clear. If he was smitten to the point they thought he was dead and they threw him in that heap, in that pile, whether he's unconscious, whether he is smitten to the point where he is just, he's languishing completely. He has no strength to even resist, or even he's just there. He's just there. He's about out of there.
He's about out of there. And they threw him into the tomb, and he jumped full of life, completely healed. Whatever the issue was, he jumped full of life. And if you go back and read the text, you go back and read the passages, that's where reading Hebrew and understanding the lexicon helps you see the depth of what they meant by that. Because remember, Messiah is still the first resurrected from the dead. We still got the issue with that. We talk about Lazarus. We talk about this guy here. If that's the case, then how was Yeshua the first resurrected? So my compliance to that, or my understanding of that as well, is that that person was as close to death as you can get, because he had no strength. And they threw him in they were clearing the streets of dead bodies.
I got it.
Mm-hmm. But how many of y'all knew that Elijah did 16 miracles and Elisha did actually 31 while he was alive? His 32nd was done when he was dead.
I did not know that.
I didn't know that at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's all there in the Tanakh. It's all in there. You can go and read it. All right. Okay. Anybody else with a thought or a comment before we dismiss from the proceeding word today?
Shalom, Apostle.
Alaikum shalom.
Brianna has a question in the chat. She's at work, so she can't come off mic. First question is, when you said know them that dwell among us, does that mean pray before helping a person? Can you elaborate?
No, it doesn't mean pray before helping a person, because when you have a brethren, your brother, you already know, we fellows in a ship. So if I'm in that same vessel and we're rowing in cadence together, and I got water, but my brother, he just drank more water, and he says, man, I'm thirsty and we can't get up because we got to get this boat, and say, hey, take some of my water. Here you go. And if he asks you for it, you give it. So if your brother comes and knocks on your door and says, hey, can I have some salt? Or, hey, can I have some bread? And you say, knowing you got it. Yeah, nah, man. Go and come back tomorrow. I'll see what I can do tomorrow. And you have it within you. Your brother. Remember, we're talking about your brother. This is someone who is, again, living in your community. You're experiencing them day in and day out, week in and week out, month in and month out, and you know the fruit that they bear. You know that they're a brother earnestly following the writ as best they can, just like you doing it as best you can. But you also know that the shyster. You know the person who's getting by on just getting by to be getting by and scheming and scamming. You know the difference between those people. So when we talk about helping each other, sometimes I can only help that scammer by not giving him a request, because I know you scamming, because you lied. What you're doing is lying to me to get what you want. And I can't, Yahweh, a liar, Yahweh is not going to tolerate. So I'm going to look at you while you tell your lie until you actually come to me with truth. I'm not judging you. It's just that I know you lying. I can't tell y'all how many times this happens. It's like, oh, okay, I heard you. Mm-hmm. But I may, just to help that person, just not even reply. I'll tell you what, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do that. But we're gonna pray that through salvation, Yahweh does provide. That may trigger that person, like, I'm my little game is being seen through, because you don't want to bless mess. So when we talk about helping each other and connecting it to, does that mean pray about it? No, you know who's coming at you. You know whether this person is where they are, and you know what you have and you don't have. So when we talk about helping our brother, state the question again for me so I make sure I verb it right.
Yes. When you said know them that dwell among us, does that mean pray before helping a person?
Okay.
Can you elaborate?
I answered it correctly. So that's the elaboration. You already know who's who in your fellowship, in your commonwealth, in your enough to know that they're striving for the same goals that you're striving for, using the same governance that you're using. That's your brother. That's your brother. That's your community brother. That's your kingdom brother. And we help each other keep each other's light shining. Now, if you into some game or some scam, can't be a part of that. Can't bless you with that. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Does that make sense? You know. You know. Because the word of Elohim is a discerner of the hearts and the intents of man. If you are in the word and they're in the word and you are all a part of the word that guides and directs your steps and your usage and your foots and what you do, you know. You pretty much know. All right. Thank you, Dr. Rosenberg. She says, I know exactly what you're talking about. Oh, Floyd says, yeah, you know. All right. So y'all catching that. Good.
Second question, sir.
All right.
From Brianna. So anyone that wants to enter the faith walk, we are supposed to pour into them. What's the difference between doing that and casting our pearls before swine?
Exactly. What you're doing, you don't move. You just sit still. When people come in, you can't do it for them. And that's the problem with the Christian church. the concept behind the Christian church is to bring them in, and you think that you're supposed to catch them, and you're supposed to clean them, you're supposed to scale them, descale them, and you're supposed to gut them and get them cleaned up and for display. The believer who comes in, all we can do is direct them to the word. The word does the work, not us. When I see you doing the word, pardon me. When the normal organic encounters I have with you see you operating the word as best as we can tell and not being judgmental, just you can see it. You're trying to do the word. You're trying to live by the word. Great, wonderful. When we see that, we thereby know that, okay, things are a little bit tough for you, but I know it looks like the fruit you're bearing is right. When the new person comes in, we pour the word into them. They have to work the word themselves. The Christian church can't do it. The pastor can't do it. My job is to create a table for you full of the nutrients and meals that you need to bring yourself back to sustainable health. And it's here on the table. It's free. I can't bring you and then force feed you. I can't put the food in your mouth. I can't put the drink to your lip unless you're coming in that broke down and we help you. But once we get you to where you are able to feed yourself, you got to do that. We do nothing else with you unless you start to do it. Your health will show. The way you eat, what you eat will show on your external. It'll tell me everybody can see whether you're healthy or you're gluttonous or you're eating wrong stuff or whatever. So our job is to make sure that there's a proper, appropriate, nutritious, sanctioned meal of Elohim. Everyone comes to that table and eats of that table. We can't force you to eat and, well, they don't want to come to the meeting, so we're going to take a plate over to them, okay? If they're not sick and unable to get there, but have heart to get there, I'm not taking a plate. We have to come. You got to come. You still got to do your job. Pouring into a person does not mean doing what needs to be done for them. It means having it available. It's a commonwealth. This is a common experience. This is a common place. This is what we do. This is what everybody has here, and you're welcome to it. You can take a horse, a cow, a mule to the water, but you cannot make it drink. They have to do their part. Making sure they have access to what you and I have access is everything. Brianna, if you're still out there and you can't talk, does that make sense? Are you seeing that? If she puts a remark in the chat, let me know. So does that make sense, y'all? Everybody understand that? Did I answer the question?
Yes, sir.
She replied, yes, sir.
Good,
Awesome.
good. All right, everybody. Anybody else?
Shalom, Spencer.
Spencer, Shabbat Shalom Aleichem. How are you?
Leah Shalom. I'm well. Shabbat Shalom to those who are in Sabbath already.
Yes.
This has been such an enriching message. I want to say that I used to listen to messages to point the finger at other people, but I've matured enough to now listen to messages and see where I can find myself in the will and in the word of God. And so the race is not given to the swift. I am a competitive person, nature. So I always have to talk to myself, to be silent, to not say anything, because my tendency is to be competitive. And as I was listening to your message, I thought about not just being competitive, but the person who always one-ups you, right? That's a form of competition. and you say something that, you made the dean's list and you had a 4.0 GPA, they come back and say, oh, well, my GPA was 4.5. Or, your son or daughter graduated from college with their master's degree. Yeah, my grandson graduated with a PhD. I mean, they always attempt to steal the thunder.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be disappointing. On the opposite side of that, not only do we compete with or against each other and being first or being the best, you have the opposite end of the spectrum where you have those individuals who oftentimes will try and do one worse than you rather than better, because it's just the nature of their being, right? So I had a friend who once said her marriage was so bad that she thought she was married to the devil's son. And then somebody came back and said, well, I was married to the devil himself and I'm like, how is that thing to be proud of? And we get caught up, right, in needing attention and being seen and in being heard. And the question is, why? And so I wanted to take an opportunity, because as I was listening to your message, and like I say, I always try to find myself. Am I guilty of that? Have I done that? And Ruach brought back to my attention that a dear sister on this platform, we were texting each other and she was celebrating something that she was doing, and I celebrated with her, but then I one-upped her. And I had completely forgot that happened almost a year ago maybe, but Ruach brought it back to my attention. And I want to say, my sister, I love you. Please forgive me. You may not recall that incident, but Holy Spirit brought it back to me, and I was wrong. I am sorry, and I continue to celebrate your successes and your going forward in the thing that you have purposed in your heart to do. I'm Spencer, and I yield.
Wow. That's an important thing, because we oftentimes find ourselves in a place where we don't really pay attention to it, but it's just the nature that we've been all sort of kind of born into by virtue of how our culture is. And I'm sure you'll contact that individual. Y'all having a conversation, they may or may not know, and we're not putting that on this platform, as it were, but that right there is what introspection and the word should do. It should shine a light on us. I know even when I'm teaching, I'm listening to what I'm teaching. One, I've lived it before I'm teaching it. And even though I've lived it, vetted it so that I can present it while it's coming forth, there are many times I'm seeing me in the message and I'm like, hey, it's just, it is what it is. But yeah, that's a good thing. We always need to find ourselves in it. And like you say, once you mature to the point where you're not trying to critique what the person is saying, because in Christian and child, you look, one up is or we call it the, I'm just going to say it. Can I just say it, y'all? It's Friday. Can I just say it?
Please do, Apostle.
Go ahead and say it.
Can I just say what I want to say? Can I say it can I say it like I feel it?
Yes,
sir.
Okay. Now y'all might not like the word, but I'm going to say the word anyway. It's like the men call it a pissing contest. Who can piss the furthest, and there's a mentality around that. And it also equates to the more appropriate statement of, as dear Pastor Spencer has elaborately and wonderfully stated, one-upped on someone. Well, in the hood, we called it that kind of contest. And so it's always, oh, I did this. And like you said, it's weird because if it's a bad thing, like you said, I married the devil's brother. I married the devil. It's like, what is that about? But that's just the nature that came with the knowledge of good and evil. And it is what it is. And that's what the word helps us to do. And I want to make sure we catch this too, because you prompted me to go back to a passage I meant to read. Romans chapter 14, everybody. And I'm going to put this to the end. Moderators, was there anybody else before I cut off the speaking? All right. Two things. Wanda Floyd said from part of this earlier, Wanda Floyd came on Facebook and she stated, hallelujah, you still have to do your job. You can't do the work for everybody else. And the Bible says, work out your own soul salvation with fear and trembling before Yahweh. Fear is not, like fear. Trembling is not what y'all thought. Like, both of them reference reverence. All right. But let me give you this last passage from Romans chapter 14. I want everybody to read this. Romans chapter number 14, verses 5. Okay. And this is important. This race is not given to the weak, to the strong, or to the swift. It's not given, right? It's what we do. Look at verse number 5. We have to esteem one another. One man esteems one day above another. Another esteems every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. He that regards the day regards it unto Yahweh, unto Adonai. He that regards not the day to Adonai, he doth not regard it. He that eateth, eateth unto Adonai, for he giveth Elohim thanks. And he that eateth not to Adonai, he eateth not and gives Elohim thanks. For one of us, pardon me, my throat, y'all. Help me, Ruah, get through this. Here we go. Verse 7. For none of us live to himself, and no man dies to himself. Did y'all read that? For none of us lives to himself, and no man dies to himself. Long as I got King Jesus, I don't need nobody else. Well, then that would mean you didn't need your mom and your dad to be born. Okay, let me go back to let me go back to what the word says. Because you didn't come in here by yourself, and you're not going to leave here. You're going to leave by yourself, but everybody around you is going to be attached to you. There's still going to be a community that's attached to you. You do need other people. You do need to know how to do things, and to do that rightly so that's beneficial to everybody. You esteem one the other. Verse number 8 says, for whether we live unto Adonai. Whether we die unto Adonai. Whether we live, therefore, or die, we are Adonai's. For to this end, Messiah both died and rose and revived, that he might be Lord, both of the dead and the living. Verse 10, but why dost thou judge your brother? Or why do you set at naught your brother? For we shall all stand before the judgment seat of Messiah. For it is written, as I live, says Adonai, every knee shall bow to me, every tongue shall confess to Elohim. So then, every one of us shall give an account of himself to Elohim. Let us not therefore judge one another anymore, but judge this rather, that no man put a stumbling block or an occasion to fall in his brother's way. I know, and I am persuaded by Yeshua HaMashiach that there is nothing unclean of itself, but to him that esteems anything to be unclean, to him it shall be unclean. So everybody has to understand this, that we have to esteem ourselves and our brothers higher than ourselves. It's just what we have to do. It's where we have to be. It's what we must do. How do I esteem myself? Last place, Philippians chapter 2. Philippians chapter 2. This is all about what this is really all about. Philippians chapter 2. Verses 1 through 3. Here it is. If there be any consolation in Messiah, if there be any comfort of love, If any fellowship of Ruach, if any bowels of mercy, fulfill ye my joy, that you be like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord, being of one mind. Let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, but in lowliness of mind, here it is, y'all, let each esteem himself. Let each esteem other better than themselves. Well, are we doing it? Are we esteeming one the other better than each other? Or are we as preachers listening to the other person preach like, yeah, but they don't know what they're talking about. I could have preached that better. I could have. Are we one up in each other? Or are we one down in each other? These are the kind of things we got to really pay attention to, because we actually sort of kind of default to that stuff quickly in our own way and in our own rights. I catch myself doing it. And I got to catch myself. I'm like, wait a minute. They are graced to do that. And then and watch this. Here's the thing. Y'all really ready for some real help? I've gone on longer than I wanted to. So we got 10 minutes left. 10 minutes is all I'm going to give. We're going to be done in 10 minutes. If y'all still,
Yes, Apostle, please.
If y'all still with us, just catch this. If you should righteously judge something that is so egregious and so necessary for correction because, someone is speaking. For me, my capacity in what I do in the kingdom is that if I hear a message that may be an inaccurate delivery, an inaccurate set of information, not in context, and the content has been just completely maligned and misconstrued, my responsibility is not to go and talk about that to another person. My responsibility is to reach out and contact that pastor, contact that speaker, contact that orator, and just simply share, not attack them. Just, I've done it. I'll leave an email or I'll contact them by text and say, hey, Doc, I was listening. I was thinking about this. Help me understand where you came from with it so I can know what it meant. And then we'll sit and we'll chat about it. And this way they'll come away and be like, yo, man, I didn't think about that. Thanks for pulling me to the side. And then they go back and correct that message. I don't get on platforms and you wrong, and that's the devil, and and then I don't get at them in back channels like Joker's be coming for us, and others I hear tell, and just blah 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 blah. You just throwing your case in their way doesn't make your case have weight with them. It's got to be a conversation. I esteem you highly. You have a responsibility to the people that you teach to. I happen to come across this information. I wonder if it can help you. And while you were speaking, it made me think of this. Would you consider this? Well, where'd you get that from? Well, it's right over here and such and so. So when you were saying it, I was like, theoretically, I get what you're saying, but theologically or Torah-based, it didn't mean that. I said, what translation were you using? Oh, I was using this. Okay. So let's look at the original word at that. And now that person and I are having a conversation. I don't have to get on broadcast and talk about, I corrected this pastor, this bishop, this leader. And they ain't got to say, oh, apostle came and talked to me. And they don't have to do that because they're like, yo, we reason together in the writ. Now, you know what I know. I need everybody to say Commonwealth.
Commonwealth.
Let that sink in. That's why when you come and you sit here, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yahweh or Elohim. My job is to make sure you know everything I know. And then we search through it together for things we don't know. But when we start searching, once we build a relationship and we have this brotherhood and this commonwealth, we know how to find that and search it out. That's commonwealth. And we know how we got it. We didn't just hear it and let 10% of 100. So we got 100% people in fellowship. Only 10% does the work. Only 10% studies the writ. And then we listen to the 10%. And whoever comes out with something, though it may be factual and good, the other 90% will take it and use it as a quote. 30% of that will go and say, hey, where'd they find that? I want to know that too. And then the other, that remaining 90%, the other 40% of them will be like, I'm just going to use it. It sounds good. But if ever questioned, they can't explain it. That's not commonwealth. Commonwealth is that we all know how to explain it. We all know how to break it down. And we all know where the actual facts are found. And we can tell someone else, thereby we're communicating faith. That's why when you talk with me or you come on people come on our broadcast, like, y'all talk too much. We don't. We're just making sure you know where it came from. And we're connecting all the dots so you don't ever have to be without that information. Well, I ain't got time for all that. Just tell me what it's saying. Therein lies the problem. You got to do your own work. You got to work your own soul salvation. You and I have to search to rid ourselves. We can aid each other. And I esteem you high enough that I use my voice to its exhaustion to make sure that we get this information. But now we know where to find it. And we know how to explain it. And we know how to, if it still causes conflict somewhere, research properly to bring it to a vetted and solidified point. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yahweh, who is our Elohim. Well, to all of you that are in Shabbat, we speak Shabbat Shalom to you. Those of you entering in, as I will be in some hours from now, we say, prepare, get ready for Sabbath and delight in it. Prepared to delight in it. Don't let anything keep you from it. Get there. Don't stop. Make it your work to get into it and be ready for Shabbat. It's a great and a beautiful thing. My name is Apostle V.W. Jones Sr. I hope that you guys would consider this ministry as a place where you can sow into so that we can continue to carry this gospel at a grand scale above and beyond where we are today. We do that by the wonderful contributions and donations of those who view this broadcast, like this broadcast, share this broadcast, and actually join in as a viewer on both YouTube and Facebook, IG, all those platforms. So we just want to say to all of you who contribute, both the digital currency as well as some of you, your financial currency, and most of you, your prayer currency, with this ministry for accurate reporting of the writ across the world. We want to say thank you. I want to say thank you. Our staff wants to say thank you. And we can't do this work without you. Now, what does that mean? If we're brothers together in this ship, we're responsible for how it gets there. Captains come and go. Admirals come and go. Heads come and go. Yahweh exalts and Yahweh puts down. But we all have to be fellows in the ship for the ship to get where it's going. You're welcomed here. I'm glad you're here. And I pray your Sabbath is an amazing, all-filled day for you. Again, this is Apostle V.W. Jones. We love you, life eternal. Listen to this announcement. Or I'm saying, well, actually, we did make the announcement. Remember that we'll be here tonight at approximately 11 p.m.ish, and then tomorrow at approximately 11 a.m.ish. If you hit the heart and the bell, the notification, you'll be notified when we go live. And if you hit our club on Clubhouse and like the club of Darash Kingdom Ministries, and or the club of Proceeding Word, I hope you like Proceeding Word. Hit that green. If you're not a member already of this club that you're listening to, please become a member so you can be notified when we go live. There's no strings attached. You ain't got to give no money. We don't play that radio. We teach what tithing and offering is to our citizenship, and they do what they do. You don't get hit with all that other garbage. So at the end of the day, like the clubs, like the page, subscribe to the page, get notifications, tune in. You can ask any question as long as we're searching for truth. Well, it's been a pleasure and a joy. I'm going to go get some rest and finish my day before Sabbath kicks in. And to you, I pray Yahweh blesses, embraces you with his spirit and his truth, and that you do have an all-filled day. Well, that's my earnest prayer for you all. Hope to see you again soon, real soon.
If you need truth, this is the place for you. Don't need to complicate it. It's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word is self-approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences. Let love heal all that's broken.
Call into 5-4.
If you need truth, this is the place for you. Don't need to complicate it. It's best to keep it basic. Open the book, the word is self-approved. He's Alpha and Omega, the answer since the early ages. What you should do is learn about the greatest. Just so you know, our door is always open. Let's study together instead of debating. Share our differences. Let love heal all that's broken.
Thank you for tuning in today. I hope that this message has been a blessing to your very life and your soul, and more importantly, your walk with the King. Well, we have come to the end. I hope that you would consider becoming either a partner with us in ministry, or if you're not already a kingdom citizen, consider becoming one. By doing that, you can sow into this ministry so that we are able to continue to teach this type of ministry at a grand scale. Join us on all of our social media platforms and visit our webpage to make your contributions sure. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Shalom Aleichem.